Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to our latest live web chat on behalf of Warwickshire County Cricket Club. I hope you are safe and well. Thank you very much for joining us, and thank you to our special guest this week, a man that is very well known around Baston Way. Couldn't be more Bears through and through, and also a World Cup winner with England. Chris Woakes, thanks for joining us. How are you doing?
Yeah, all good, Bri. Thanks for having me on. Looking forward to it, actually. Be good to have a chibwag and talk all things Bears in England. But no, all's good, mate. All's good. Nice to be back doing some form of training. Obviously, everyone's missed the cricket, and it's a bit of strange times we're all in. So nice to have some normality back with back training at Edgbaston. So yeah, all's good, mate. Thank you.
Well, it is great that we're going to hopefully get some cricket this season and test matches for you to look forward to. We've got loads of questions, Chris, all sorts of questions from all sorts of members to throw at you. So let's get straight into them, Wokesy, if that's okay. Let's start off with one from Sam Joring, which is quite a big question. Who is your favourite cricket player of all time and why?
So, I mean, I've obviously got many players that I've loved watching over the years, and could list a full 11, but I think the one player that stands out for me is Jack Callis. It's a player which I look up to a lot, he's the best all-round to have played the game in my eyes. He's the best cricketer to have played the game, just because of the fact that he did everything, and he did everything brilliantly. He bowled, he batted, he fielded, as good as anyone. So I think his all-round ability makes him my number one favourite player, I suppose. But as I said, I think it'd be easy to pick an 11, but I think the one standout for me is Jack Callis.
On a slightly related theme, actually, Chris, we've got a question from William Baker. Thank you, William, for your question. And it is, who is the greatest batsman you have bowled at and why?
So I've bowled at plenty of good players that have hit me everywhere. But I think, at the moment, it lives, unfortunately, in my memory pretty soon, or recent, should I say, is Steve Smith. Unfortunately, picking an Australian is probably not ideal, but he's frustrating to bowl at with his unique technique. And his numbers suggest that he's probably the world's best player at the minute and has been for a little while. But he's just so hard to bowl at, I think. He's just so unique. He obviously walks across his stumps, and, as a bowler, you think you can get him LBW all the time, but he doesn't tend to miss too many on the stumps. And, I've managed to get him out a few times, but unfortunately, he's always on 100 plenty. So I need to find a way to get him out a bit sooner. Steve Smith's probably a standout at the minute, but many great players I feel like I bowled at, Virat Kohli, AB de Villiers. Hashim Amla was, I really struggled against him for some reason. He kind of just enjoyed facing me. But, many are world-class players, but Steve Smith's the standout for me.
Thanks, Chris. Now we've got a question here that takes you right back to the start from Toby During. Thank you for your question, Toby. He says, Chris, when did you decide that you wanted to play professional cricket? And related to that, Jason Marcham asks, what would you have done if you hadn't played professional cricket?
So I think it wasn't until I was probably around about 14 or 15 that I realised or thought I'd like to be a professional cricketer. Football was always my passion, kind of still is. But football was my number one sport, probably growing up from, the age of 8 through to about 14. And cricket was a game that, again, I loved from a similar ages, but it was just kind of almost my second sport. But it wasn't until I was about 13, 14, I got a lot better at cricket, got onto the academy at Warwickshire. And during that period, I realised that I could, be pretty good at it and hopefully take it somewhere. So that age was when I realised I wanted to be, a Warwickshire Bear and play for Warwickshire. And that dream kind of started to come to the fore. But I suppose had that not have worked out the way I'd wanted it to, I think, at the age of 16, I was, not 16, 17 or 18, I was hoping to go to university still until I got off the contract with Warwickshire, to do some form of sport degree, whether that be, coaching or teaching, potential PE type stuff. But I always wanted to do something regarding sport. I've loved sport from a very young age, and I didn't see anything other than me being involved with sport. So that was kind of maybe an option had I not become a cricketer.
Well, related to that, actually, got a couple of questions that I'll just put together, if I may, from Simon Goodyear and Michael Eyre. What made you choose cricket over football as a career? Was it just that perhaps you felt you were just a little bit better at cricket and had more chance of making it? And Michael says, was it a hard decision?
At the time, it didn't seem like a hard decision, just because I was really enjoying my cricket. My cricket was developing and going. I felt like I was getting better quite quickly. At the time, I was still probably, quite a young lad of 13, 14, playing at Walsall for football, and I just felt like I was kind of standing still. There's lads around me that were growing and getting bigger, and I still was quite small and quite puny, to be honest. And I was getting bullied on the park, getting barged off the ball, and I just probably wasn't enjoying it as much as I was my cricket at that time. So, when I told my mum and dad that I kind of wanted to focus more on cricket, they were more than happy to support me with that, which was great, because they said if you weren't, enjoying your football, then you shouldn't really, have to force yourself to do it, which was great advice, because, as a young lad, you want the support of your parents, and thankfully they were on my side on that.
Just one more football question for now, Chris. This one comes from Eli Z. Farn, who asks, had your football career taken off, what would your answer have been if you'd been offered a contract by Birmingham City?
That's a great question. Poor, got me stumped. Oh, God. I think if it was my only route into football, I'd have had to have taken it, wouldn't I? But I was, my family, I tell you what, I'd have been disowned. I wouldn't have had a house to go back to.
The second city derby would have been interesting with you playing for Blues, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would. I tell you, but I mean, surely wouldn't have been the first player to play for Blues who's a Villa fan. So there must be someone down the line.
Yeah, I think there's one or two. John Westwood brings us right up to date with his very good question from John. Thank you for it. He says, Chris, with very little cricket likely in 2020, do you feel this will be a benefit to you and perhaps even increase the number of years you can play?
That's a good question. I'm hoping so. It's obviously not an ideal situation we're all in, but the break, I think, will definitely be beneficial. I think, having that time off and, resting the muscles, resting the mind. When you play international cricket, you're on the road a hell of a lot. So, to be at home and be with the family has been brilliant, to be honest. Obviously, it's not the forced break that we all wanted, but it can certainly work to our favour. And I'd like to think it will stick, a year or two on the end of my career. I really hope so. I want to play as long as I possibly can, and stay in as good a condition as I can to try and play as long as possible. So, certainly hope so. I certainly hope that is the case.
Great stuff. We'll crack on. There's a lot of questions, Chris, so they're coming at you quite quickly, I think.
No worries.
Jess Ellicott, thank you for your question. Jess says, Chris, which of your successes playing for the Bears means the most to you and why?
Well, I think as a young lad, 13, 14, 15 years of age, my aim, my goal was to just become a Warwickshire player. I just wanted to play at Edgbaston. Trying to go on and play for England was kind of beyond my wildest dreams. And then I think once I made my Warwickshire debut, it was, that moment itself was incredible. And I look back on it really, really fondly. But I think the one that I probably enjoyed the most, it's tricky. I mean, I loved 2014, winning the T20, the Blast at Edgbaston in front of the home fans. I mean, that was pretty special. But I think if I had to choose one, it'd probably be the shirt that's behind me, the 2010 one-day cup final win. Just because it was kind of, a one-day final at Lords is kind of seen to be the pinnacle as a county cricketer's career. And to be able to win at Lords with my teammates, with one of my best mates in the game, Richard Johnson in the same team. I think that memory that stays with me forever. And the first kind of real big win at Lord's was my favourite, I think.
I think you've just answered the next question, or half of the next question then, Chris, from Michael Ratcliffe. He says, which are your most memorable games for Warwickshire and for England? That one-day final, clearly, is it for Warwickshire? How about for England?
Yeah, I mean, definitely that one for Warwickshire, I think, along with the 2014 win at Edgbaston and the T20. But I think with England, it's really hard to look past the most recent World Cup. Obviously, becoming a World Cup winner was just something which I never thought would ever be possible. So that is comfortably probably my favourite moment in an England shirt. But I think receiving my cap as an England player, my first England cap, particularly as a Test player, is something which I can, never ever will lose. Will leave my memory. I think that's just something which was a very proud day. It's something which I always never thought would be possible, as I probably mentioned before. But those two, World Cup win and making my Test debut. Right, I'm just going to pop a light on. It's going dark in here, just in case. Apologies.
No worries. Thanks, Chris.
There we go.
Chris, you've just answered the next question again. That's ever so talented. I don't know how you do it. Susan Billingham, thank you for your question. Susan says, what were your emotions when you received the call to say you were going to make your England debut and get that first cap?
Yeah, I mean, I remember my first call up, which was to the one-day side in Australia. I was actually in Australia at the time, working with the Lions, playing with the Lions team. And I got the call from the selectors, and the coach at the time told me that I was going to be called up to the senior squad, and couldn't quite believe it, really. That was just a surreal moment to think, wow, I'm going to be joining up with the guys that have just won the Ashes down under, the likes of Ian Bell, Andrew Strauss, Kevin Peterson, Paul Collingwood, Graham Swan, all these big names in the dressing room that I've just looked at, really, and watched from afar. And then all of a sudden you're going to be walking into that dressing room. It didn't really sink in. It was almost like I was in a dream and I was going to wake up. But yeah, great moment to think that I was going to be a part of an England team, an England dressing room.
Just taking back a little bit before that, even now, a question from David Whitlock. David, good evening. And his question, Chris, you played for England under-19s in 2008 in the under-19s World Cup in Malaysia.
Yes.
Part of a team with James Taylor, Stephen Finn, Liam Dawson, plus many other future first-class players. What memories do you have of that tour? And do you agree that such tours have a high value for a young player?
Yeah, I mean, that was an incredible experience for me, being a part of that squad. Firstly, being selected on a World Cup, on the 19 World Cup trip with, the best players at your age group. It's an honour to be picked in that squad. And it was the first time I'd really been away from home as well, like for a prolonged period of time. We actually did a 3 or 4 week trip to Sri Lanka prior to going to Malaysia. So we were away for I think it was almost a total of 9 or 10 weeks, which was the first time I'd really stepped foot out of Birmingham properly. So it was a big learning curve, really, I suppose, being away from home for that long time. And again, to play with some great players that have gone on to have great careers, and, both in county level and, international level. So yeah, some real fun memories of that tournament. It's a fun time to be playing cricket as an 18-year-old guy with your pals that are all the same age. It was almost a bit like a school trip, but you're playing cricket. It was fantastic, and I think they do have real significance. Those tours as the 19-year-old, 18-year-old going and playing in different countries can really develop your game and develop your character as well as a person.
A couple of related questions here, Chris. One from Tom McMullen. Thank you, Tom. Question is, what is the toughest ground for a visiting team that you've played at? And just related to that, a question that's just coming on our Zoom group chat. And please, anyone who a question does occur to you, just get in touch with us and let us know. And that question is, what is more intimidating for you, to play at grounds like the MCC, the Gabba or the Wacker against Australia, or playing in India, not just in the IPL?
Yeah, they're two very different atmospheres. The first question saying where's the probably the hardest or most intimidating place to play, I'd say I think Australia probably is that. I've played obviously a lot of cricket in Australia, and as an Englishman in Australia on a cricket field, you certainly cop a hell of a lot of abuse. And I think as a young lad, I remember my first tour there, I was just like, what is this? How are you supposed to play cricket with this level of atmosphere and abuse coming from the crowd? But you kind of learn to cope with it and learn to block it out. But I think the Gabba is certainly up there in Brisbane with one of the most intimidating grounds. The MCG is an incredible atmosphere. It's almost like a cauldron, but at the same time, it's so big that the fans seem quite far away. So they don't quite have that sort of intense feeling as the Gabba. But I know Edgbaston is up there for players coming and playing at Edgbaston, international players in particular. When England and the Holly stand is full and rocking and making a hell of a lot of noise. I know the Australians certainly don't particularly enjoy coming and playing there. I know Tim Payne certainly had something to say, didn't he, during the Ashes series recently, that he didn't believe the hype of all that. But I think deep down, I think he even said after the series that he knows it's an intimidating place to come and play cricket. But the Aussies obviously turned us over this year there. But so I think with India, it's a different atmosphere. It's just loud. It's just coming to terms and coming to grips with the sheer volume that you come up against. They don't tend to hurl abuse at you. They just kind of love cricket that much that they're just there to see their idols play cricket, which is a great atmosphere to be a part of.
Question from Harry Bromley, Chris. What is your best tip for someone just starting hardball bowling, or for bowling a good line and length in general? And Anna's also been in touch on the chat to say, what are your top bowling tips?
Well, firstly, the changing to a hardball is a big change. I remember struggling at that age. I can't remember that age exactly, but I remember also when the ball changed size and got a bit bigger at a certain age group. So it takes a bit of getting used to. I think it's just practice. Don't expect to be brilliant from ball one. Things do take time, and don't get overly frustrated with yourself. Just take your time, give yourself a chance, and practice, and that will come eventually. And when it comes to bowling tips, I think, I suppose the best one that I can give is be as straight lines as possible when it comes to bowling a good line and length. Bowling is all about straight lines. We need to get the ball from A to B. And a lot of the times we complicate it as bowlers by running up in funny angles and funny directions. So, straight lines is the most important thing as a bowler. If you can, get those lines straight, get those lines going towards off stump as much as possible. And then the more you can repeat that, the more consistent you will become.
Question from Ben Lowe. Chris, thank you for your question, Ben. It is, what's the funniest thing that's ever happened to you in a cricket match?
I wouldn't say it's happened to me, but I think a lot of Warwickshire members will know about one I'm about to talk about. Was a county championship game against Sussex, I believe. It was Ed Joyce was certainly batting, and he swept one off Ant Botha, and Jonathan Trott was in at short leg, and he won't mind me saying this. I reckon Trott was one of the worst short legs I've ever seen in the game, and he didn't particularly want to be in there. And as he jumped and turned around, the ball shot into his pocket. And we were looking around for a few seconds as to where the ball had gone. It was in Trotty's pocket, and he picked it out and off had to walk to Ed Joyce. But one of the most surreal things that I don't think will ever happen again on the cricket field. You see short legs catch them in between the legs and things like that, but not in their pocket.
Yes, that the Clippers, I think, was tweeted by the Bears recently, wasn't it? And Trotty just jumps up and looks towards the boundary, doesn't it, for the ball? And
yeah,
suddenly it's in his pocket. Thank you for that, Chris. You've just answered Jonathan Beverley's question, actually, the funniest or most bizarre thing you've seen on the cricket field while playing for Warwickshire. Nigel Smith asks a very simple question. What does it feel like to be a world champion?
I mean, it's amazing. That's the best way I can put it. I find this question, I've obviously been asked it a lot in the last year or so, and I just find it hard to put into words, really. It's an incredible, just surreal feeling, I suppose, to think that that team is world champions and World Cup winners. That's sort of thing that stays with you forever, doesn't it? It's it really is very, very special to be called a World Cup winner, and I'm thankful to everyone in that team and that squad, because we put in a hell of a lot of hard work over a 4-year period to try and make that a reality, and to get over the line. I suppose in the fashion that we did as well. That game was just bizarre, wasn't it, for everyone watching, and for us to be a part of it as well. It was just an emotional roller coaster throughout the whole day. So it feels an incredible, special, and proud moment to be able to be called a World Cup winner.
Keith Wellings asks, what do you think has been your best bowling performance to date?
I mean, in an England shirt, my best bowling performance is probably when I took 11 for at Lords against Pakistan in 2016. That's probably my best all-round bowling performance. Unfortunately, we went on to lose that game, but that was probably one of the best performances for me personally with the ball for England. But for Warwickshire, it's hard. I look back at look back on some great performances back in what would it been? It'd been around about the 2011, 2012 sort of season. But I suppose the clear standout is taking 9 for at Edgbaston against Durham. In a way, I got called up and couldn't play the second part of that innings, could I? But it would have been nice to be able to bowl in the second innings of that game and hopefully add to the tally of 9. But that day, something just clicked. The ball was swinging around, and I just felt in control after getting my first wicket. I felt like I really had good control of where I was putting it, and thankfully, I picked up a few wickets.
And if OHD hadn't have stuck his beak in, you'd have got all 10 perhaps.
Well, there is that, but then I also he got the first, so maybe I stopped him getting all 10.
Stuart Milton, thank you for your question, Stuart. He asks, what cricket ground, apart from Edgbaston, of course, do you look forward to playing on because you've done well there in the past?
I've got a really good record at Lords, and I don't really know why. It's hard to put my finger on it, because when I first started bowling at Lords, I did struggle with the slope. My first few games there, I wasn't particularly great, and my performances probably didn't really show too much. But for some strange reason, for the last probably 4, 5, 6 times I played there for England, it's really been a good ground for me. And now I obviously really enjoy going back there because I've had success, and I've kind of figured out the slope and kind of use it to my advantage. But I've really enjoyed. I mean, another county ground another county ground that I've really enjoyed over the years is playing at is Taunton, Somerset. I mean, a lot of people have said it's a bowler's graveyard over the years, and it certainly was, I think, particularly at the start of my career. But I think over the years it's got a little bit more helpful for the bowlers, and I've had some relatively good success there. And it's a proper old school traditional cricket ground, and I enjoy going back there and playing.
Thanks, Chris. Coming right up to date now, Ryan Studley. Thank you, Ryan. He asks, what are your thoughts on potential rule changes coming in that affects the game due to COVID-19? And we've just had a live question as well, asking, do you have any concerns about playing in the current climate? And how do you think the no saliva on the ball will impact the upcoming series against West Indies?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously strange times for us all that we're living in. Everything's changing. The new normal type thing is going to be different for us all. And, no different for us cricketers. Everything's going to change. And, there's things and things that we've been doing for years and years and years, lifetime habits, are going to have to change. And, obviously no saliva on the ball. It probably will affect the ball a little bit in terms of how much it's going to move around. I think fortunately in England, the ball will still move a bit, still offer a little bit for the bowlers, but we might see a few higher scores if the pitches are pretty good and pretty flat. But it's just something we just have to get used to. For us to get cricket back out there and for us to be back out there playing cricket, it needs to be as safe as possible. And if that's one of the things that has to give, then we're going to have to do it. It's a shame that we have to change the game that we love, but it's a small change for us to be able to play some cricket. So not an ideal situation, but we're going to obviously try and make the best of it.
And just related to that, Michael Parker asks, what are your feelings about playing test matches and ODIs behind closed doors? It'll be strange, won't it?
Yeah, exactly that. It's going to be strange. Particularly for England and international cricket, you're constantly playing in front of big crowds, full stadiums, and we're fortunate that we have fans to come and fill the stadiums that love cricket in this country. So it will be strange. I mean, it's going to take a bit of getting used to. But at the same time, as I've touched on, it's just great that we're going to be able to see some cricket this summer. We thought at one point that it was going to be wiped out completely, and we wouldn't see a ball bowled. So hopefully it all goes well. And, what we've touched on is it hopefully will be as safe as possible for the players, for anyone that's involved there. But yeah, it's just a shame that we aren't going to be playing for the supporters. But we know that the fans will be watching from home and hopefully cheering us on from there.
Question from Richard Grover. Chris, this one will take you back a bit. My first game, says Richard, scoring club cricket, featured you playing against Kenilworth second 11, for Aston Manor second 11. I'll ask you what the scores were in a minute. In 2003, what are your memories of playing club cricket for Aston Manor?
Oh, I mean, they were the best memories. That's all I can say, really. I can't remember the game exactly. 2003 seems like a lifetime ago, but yeah, my memories of playing for Aston Manor and playing club cricket there was, they were the best. Obviously play cricket for a living now and get paid for it as a job. But back then it was purely just on the fact that I loved the game. Played it as a hobby. Played to socialise, played to play with friends. And they were the best times of being a cricketer. As a young lad, played a lot with my brothers as well. Which again was great. Look back on those times as up there with the best. So really enjoyable times at Aston Manor. I owe them a lot. I obviously moved on a bit later on in my career to try and play a better standard of Birmingham League cricket. But the Squirrels at Aston Manor is what their nickname will hold a good place in my heart for a long time.
Ken Mackay asks, in your experience, who would you rate as the best England coach you have worked under?
We've had a few actually over the years. It's tricky. They all bring different characteristics and different qualities. A lot of coaches, pretty much every coach is different. I've had some great bowling coaches in particular. Obviously, I worked with AD at Warwickshire. When it comes to England coaches along the line, I really enjoyed Trevor Bayliss most recently. I just thought he was, a great man manager. Was fairly quiet, didn't really get in the way too much and let the players kind of lead a lot, which, when you've got an experienced 11 or an experienced squad, I suppose you can do as a coach. But, as I said, a lot of coaches bring different qualities. Graham Welsh currently, I know he's not an England coach, but he's been fantastic. He's a great guy and a guy that I really trust, particularly when it comes to, my bowling. He knows me, I know him. He's really approachable. Ashley Giles was great his time at Warwickshire as well. So, I've got a lot of great coaches who I've had over the years. It's hard to single them out, I suppose.
You've just mentioned Pop. Susan Billingham asks, what's it like to be back in training with Pop? I guess it's just good to be moving again after all these weeks.
Yeah, that's it. The body's been a little bit sore the last couple of weeks, I'm not going to lie. It's been a bit creaky, obviously blowing away the cobwebs, back bowling, having had a two-month break. It's been a little bit rusty, but slowly getting there now. And yeah, it's been great working with Graham, with Pop Welsh. He's obviously a bear through and through, and I've worked with him for a number of years, obviously with his first spell at Warwickshire and now obviously his second as well. And even when he was a pro, I reminded him of this the other day, but he did almost like a masterclass session when I was about 10 or 11 years old in the old indoor school at Edgbaston. And he was like teaching us how to bowl back then. And, you know, it's amazing to think 20 years down the line, you know, we're working together as a bowling coach and a player out in the middle at Edgbaston.
You've always been a Bear, of course, and loved playing for the Bears. Alan Plum asks, in the modern era of centrally contracted players, England's nationals are rarely available for domestic cricket, of course. How do you reconcile club and country?
Yeah, it's, you know, we don't play a huge amount for Warwickshire now, though, or sort of say the counties as much, especially if you're playing a lot for England. You know, it's a good sign in a way if you're not playing for your county. But, you know, I certainly don't see it as, you know, that, you know, it's nice to come and play for Warwickshire and play as much as possible for Warwickshire as well. You know, I've always loved playing at Edgbaston and putting on the Warwickshire shirt, and you know, that will never change for me. So, you know, I love coming back to Warwickshire and playing any games. You know, but obviously the main priority for me is to try and prolong an England career for as long as possible and try and perform as well as possible in that shirt. But, you know, I will always give 110% whenever I play for Warwickshire. So.
Question from Carl Jordan. Chris, which bowling partnerships do you consider you've had the most success with playing for Warwickshire and England? Who do you like at the other end?
With Warwickshire, I had a lot of success with Neil Carter at the other end. That was probably in my earlier days, but that's when I played a lot more for Warwickshire, I suppose. I loved bowling with Carts. Obviously, two very different bowlers. He was probably quicker than me and a left arm bowler, and I was kind of a pitch it up, swing it bowler, right arm, obviously. And we had a good combination. And then further on down the years, I had a great opening partnership with Keith Barker. Probably similar because he was a left armer and I was a right armer. We kind of complemented each other and gave different skills to the team. But, you know, with England, you know, I've never really kind of been an opening bowler for Warwickshire, but I've had some good partnerships with many. You know, I enjoyed bowling with Broady, Jimmy, Stephen Finn for a while. More recently, I've opened the bowling with Jofra, obviously, in the World Cup and in the one-day team. So, yeah, plenty, to be honest with you. I could name, again, another 11 probably bowlers that I've bowled with. But, you know, in particular for Warwickshire, those are probably the standouts.
A question from Matt Grubb. Thank you, Matt. I think it's actually been answered, really. He says, hi, Chris, what's your favourite non-international county ground to play at and why? I think you mentioned Taunton. Yeah,
Taunton's definitely up there. It's really, really nice cricket ground, along with New Road, actually. I know it's probably shouldn't be pumping the tyres of our local rivals too much, but I really enjoy playing at New Road as well. New Road's a great cricket ground. It's glorious in the sunshine, as is most of the grounds in the country, I suppose, in the sun. But yeah, they're probably two that I really enjoy playing at, just because they're probably a little bit, you know, smaller and a bit more traditional in terms of English cricket grounds.
Thanks, Chris. Peter Titmus asks a very direct question. Have you ever voluntarily gone to watch the Blues at St Andrews?
Voluntarily, no. I have been to St Andrews though. It was a corporate event. I was kind of invited to. I can't remember exactly. I can't tell you the game, but I have been to St Andrews twice. I think I went as a young lad. A cousin of mine was a Blues fan at one point. I don't think he is anymore. We went to watch a game then, and then probably a good few years ago, had a corporate do. I mean, Steve Perriman actually has invited me, and I've lost the amount of times Perez has invited me down to the Blues, and I've ignored his message every single time. So I think he's finally got the message.
One more question on the big round ball game, then we'll get back to cricket. Vicky Dawes puts it on the line. Do you think Aston Villa will get relegated?
Oh, the $1 million question. I seriously hope not. I was kind of hoping the season might be null and voided just so that we get out of it. And I'd have taken that, to be honest. But as much as I want to see live sport back on the TV, I'd have certainly happy been seeing Aston Villa, kind of finding a way to safety. But hand on my heart, I mean, I'd love to say yes, but I think we've got a lot of work to do in the last 10 games. We've got a tough run in, so it's going to be tough. It's going to be tricky, but I really do hope we can stay in the Premier League, but it's going to be hard.
I'm a bit disappointed in you, Woakes, hoping that the season was null and void. That's like a cricket with the rain, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it depends on the situation of the game, doesn't it? Sometimes rain's good for you.
Elizabeth Homer, thank you for your question, Elizabeth. She says, firstly, Chris, thanks for making us Bears supporters so proud. Secondly, I appreciate, obviously, it's not possible during lockdown, but under normal circumstances, do you have much time in your busy schedule to observe and encourage the young pace bowlers at Warwickshire, as we seem to have some exciting talents?
Sorry, Brian, just stuttered then. What was the question? Sorry.
The question was,
stuttered a bit.
Obviously, you're a very busy fellow with England commitments, and particularly it's been difficult during the last few weeks in lockdown. But do you often have much time in your busy schedule to help and encourage the young pace bowlers at Warwickshire? Right. Because you seem to have some exciting talents coming through.
Yeah, it's something which I'd like to do more of. I'd love to be able to spend a little bit more time, training and coaching with the youth system. And I have had the odd occasion where I've been able to do that. But we seem to have a relatively good battery of pace bowlers coming through the ranks, and hopefully that can continue. It's great to see young guys coming through the ranks and through the academy system. The likes of Henry Brooks most recently. It's really important that we try and develop our own, and hopefully in the future, when the schedule does become a less busy, and I become a bit more of an old man and not playing for England as much, hopefully I can give something back and hopefully spend more time with some players from the academy system, I suppose.
And just taking that on, actually, in terms of passing on your knowledge, David Whitlock asks, this is early days, of course, but have you given any thought to a career after cricket yet? Cricket is a relatively short career. And do you wonder or worry that you might not get the same satisfaction or reward that you can get from being an international cricketer?
I suppose it's something which does cross your mind, especially when you get to 30, I suppose. As I thought about it a little bit more, is thinking about what I'd like to do post-career. Of course, I want to concentrate on what I'm doing right now, which is obviously giving my all to being an England cricketer and a Warwickshire cricketer. But certainly have given it thoughts about going into coaching post-career. And I sit here now having had probably already 14 years of a county and a professional career, and think where have those years gone? So these times it does go quick, and hopefully if I can leak out a few more years, I still believe that I can obviously offer a lot on the field, but hopefully when it does finish, I can give a lot back in terms of the coaching capacity.
Questions just landed on our live chat, and do feel free to get in touch, any members with a question. And this one, we've spoken quite a lot about your bowling, Chris. What would you consider to be the best innings you've ever played?
I think the best innings I've ever played is, obviously I have one Test 100 at Lords, but it's hard to look past that. But I feel like I've made some more really important knocks for Warwickshire over the years, particularly probably in my early career. I think it was my second first-class 100. Was at Edgbaston. It was a game which you'd have covered, Brian, I'm sure. When we were in a bit of trouble at the start of the year. I think we'd lost a few games on the bounce, and then we beat Hampshire at home, and we was in a bit of trouble. I think we were 6 down early, and I went in, and I ended up getting 100, and kind of got us up to a good score. But I look back and on that game in particular, and that knock, and kind of it just felt great to be able to contribute to the team when we were really struggling, and kind of obviously got us on winning ways again. You just never know. Had we lost that game, we could have probably been in free fall, but we managed to win that game, and that was a really important knock. So I probably look back on that as one of the most important.
Was that the one where you put on 100 for the last 2 wickets with
Yeah,
interesting batsmen, Neil Carter and Imran Tahir?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we put on a couple of great partnerships, and yeah, I mean the wicket actually probably did a bit more than we expected it to, which obviously made it a little bit better as well. But yeah, it was a great time to be batting with those two, as you can imagine. Both two great characters of the game. Neil Carter was just swinging it and whacking it to all parts. And then when Imran came in, I kind of thought, well, this isn't going to last too long. And I think he ended up getting 50 as well. So yeah, it was a great time to be out there in the middle.
Sue Holden asks, how do you think the long layoff from normal pre-season and ongoing training and the lack of actual match practice will affect your overall match fitness when you resume full play? I mean, how easy is it going to be to get back into it, Chris?
Yeah, it's not going to be easy. It's a good question. It's exactly right. I think we're going to find that players are going to probably have to ramp up pretty quickly, which fast bowler sense is actually sometimes quite difficult because that's when you find you pick up injuries. But you have to try and be as sensible as possible. And I know that that first Test match is due supposedly on the 8th of July. Pre those Test matches, we're going to have to try and get as much bowling done as possible. And try and ramp our workloads up relatively quickly, but also safely. So it's a tricky one. It's tricky getting the balance of bowling too many overs and too little. So that's something that I leave up to the physios and the medical team to suggest how much we actually need to bowl.
And just connected to that, Michael Bond asks, do you think that the lack of match practice will favour batters or bowlers as you go into Test matches?
I mean, bowlers are going to have had a little bit longer training. The England bowlers in particular, have been given 2 or 3 weeks longer than the batters, just for the sole reason that we need to try and get up to fitness a bit more important than the batsman side of things, because a lot more stress goes through our bodies than theirs. But I would say it's probably going to affect the bowlers a little bit more, just because of the fact it takes a bit longer to get match practice in. But then we should all be in the same boat in terms of no one's going to have played a game for a long period of time, both us and the opposition. So you'd like to think it's going to be a level playing field.
I've got a question just coming on the chat. What is your favourite form of cricket, Test, One Day or T20? And that links in with a good question actually from Carl Jordan, Woakesy, who says, do you think Test cricket is the most important? And do you envisage retiring from any of the 3 formats internationally first?
Signing me off too soon here. I'm not too sure. I think I've always grown up watching Test cricket and seen Test cricket as to be the absolute pinnacle. And I still stand by that, I think. One day cricket and T20 cricket's been very kind to me. It's been able to, let me firstly play for England and travel the world playing some fantastic T20 tournaments as well. But I think just in my heart, I still love Test cricket. That test between the bat and the ball over a long period of time, shows some true skill and some mental strength. So I still think Test and 4-day cricket, red ball cricket is probably my favourite. But don't get me wrong, white ball cricket is not far behind. And, I love the entertainment side of T20 and the shorter formats. And then ODI cricket as well is a format which I quite enjoy and I've thrived in as well more recently. So I enjoy that as well. But when it comes to retirement, at the minute, I obviously haven't given that too much thought. I still feel like I've got plenty in the tank and looking forward to playing a lot more, hopefully, for England. But we'll have to wait and see further down the line when we look at that.
Question from Anna, just coming on the group chat. Thank you, Anna. And it is, Chris, do you have any superstitions?
Not really. The only things that I wouldn't call them superstitions, but I'd call them things that I like to tick off before a game, just from a mental preparation point of view. So I feel like I'm ready. So you could call them superstitions, but basically before a game, I like to walk out to the middle and visualize from behind the stumps, me kind of running into bowl and just bowling my best ball, just kind of see myself running in and and focusing on what I need to do later on in the game. And then also when I walk back to my mark, when I'm bowling my over, I always turn to my left. That's something which I have to do. So if I receive the ball from mid on, I still have to turn around the other way and turn around to my left. That's something which is kind of just ingrained in me and has been there for years. So I kind of try and do that every time.
Also, another live questions flooded in from Elizabeth. Have you bought your daughter her first bat and ball to play in the garden with yet?
I haven't bought her one specifically. She's only just approaching 2, so she's kind of not into really too much other than, I mean, she enjoys playing with any form of ball, to be honest with you, which is great, but she hasn't quite grasped the batting side of things just yet. But we didn't say bought, I found in the garage just a miniature signature bat, which she tries to give the ball a bit of a whack with. So I suppose you could say that she's started, but certainly not trying to coach her just yet.
Josh Hyde asks quite a big question, which a lot of people would love the answer to. How do you bowl so fast with swing and accuracy? And if you could just add maybe to that, Chris. I mean, I remember Steve Perryman telling me one time one of the greatest things about you is it was also your action was so natural. I mean, how much do you have to tweak and change things as years go?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people. I haven't changed my action a huge amount over the years, which is lucky. You know, I haven't had to go through massive changes, which I think has helped me in the long run. But it's certainly one of those things which I think I've been quite lucky with. You know, when my action repeats itself, it's safe. You know, rarely does it put too much stress through my back. But I think when it came to putting on more pace, which I had to do, particularly once I started playing for England, and you know, to prolong my career, especially my international career, I had to try and put some pace on. That was something which I had to work on across a 2-3 year period. It didn't just happen overnight. You know, and I certainly lost a few skills along the way to try and get more pace. And I almost went from one end of the spectrum to the other, and had to find somewhere in the middle where, you know, I could get my skills back and kind of, you know, still bowl quick, but just drop it a little bit to try and make sure that I had a bit of both. And thankfully, I found a bit of a happy medium. And you know, as I said, it wasn't something that happened overnight. I increased a bit of the pace of my run up. Sometimes I was running too quick, sometimes I was running too slow. So that took a while to grasp. And then also I changed a few things for my front arm. My front arm was really like laboured and kind of went out towards the batsman instead of being quite high and driving down. And again, that took a bit of getting used to as well. So a few little technical tweaks here and there, but you know, feel like I found my way in the end and managed to put some more pace on.
Yeah, it worked out really well for you, didn't it? But of course, some bowlers have really struggled, haven't they? And sometimes their actions have been tweaked and they've never really come back from it. So it must be quite a time of pressure when you're just trying to make that change that will take you to the next level.
Yeah, I think I touched on it earlier. I think the most important thing for me was my action and my run up and everything was very straight and was in straight lines and going towards the target. And I didn't want to change that. You know, it was important that I didn't start crossing over or putting my feet somewhere I didn't want them to be put. So I say I was probably a bit fortunate and a bit lucky with that. But that was something which I certainly didn't want to change. I wanted it to be safe. I wanted it to be straight lines. And that was as simple as I kept it, really. I didn't try to overcomplicate it.
Question from Carl Jordan. You played in the IPL, Chris. How does that compare to other 2020 competitions you've played in? And describe the IPL for us.
Yeah, I mean, the IPL is an incredible tournament. And before I went to the tournament, I didn't probably give it much credit. And then when I went there, I realised how great it was. You know, playing in front of huge crowds. You know, and it's taken extremely seriously as well. I thought it was kind of first a bit of a Mickey Mouse tournament, but the teams are extremely competitive. There's competition for places, particularly as an overseas international player. You're playing with the world's best at some, you know, as a bowler, you're playing in tough conditions because the wickets are flat. They're good for batting, small boundaries. And it's extremely professional. As I said, the teams take it very seriously. They expect you to perform. Obviously, they hand out a lot of, you know, big contracts, so they expect you to do well. And I think it was good for me to go there and realise actually to you have to perform under huge pressure. It's a different pressure to playing for England, obviously, but you still want, you've got your own pride to play for, and you don't want to lose out on future contracts, etc. So the whole world's always watching now, particularly with social media. So I really enjoyed playing in India. The fans love their cricket. As I said earlier, the stadiums are so loud, and I've really enjoyed my time when I've played in India.
Question, Chris, from Dave Kerr. Thank you, Dave, for your question, which is, I was very concerned, Chris, that you were cast to the outfield for much of the Ashes Test series and didn't get given the ball when we expected you to be. Was this planned, or hadn't you bought Joe Root enough pints?
Yeah, I obviously hadn't bought him a few drinks prior to that Test match. I think if it's Edgbaston Test match, which I'm assuming he's referring to. But Joe did. I mean, at the time, the wicket was spinning, and he kept going back to Moeen and was hoping that Moeen would do the job. But it's just one of those things. As a bowler, I did tap him on the shoulder a couple of times and said, "Look, I'm ready whenever." But it just didn't happen. And I remember Joe come up to me not too long after that series and said, a couple of times he probably should have gone to me a bit sooner. But that's the way it works in cricket. Sometimes you get the nod, sometimes you don't. I certainly don't envy being a captain. It's a tough job, and to be honest, I don't think I ever would like the job. To be brutally honest with you, there's a lot of pressure on you, and as a bowler, you have a lot of thoughts going through your mind as it is. So, I certainly don't envy Joe's position.
Question from Eli Z. Farn. Woakes, he says, we all remember you bowling the Bears to promotion in your second season, your first full season in 2008, but you actually made your debut in 2007 under Mark Greatbatch, which wasn't a happy time at the club. What do you recall of making your debut that year?
Yeah, so I think, as a young guy coming into the team, you're kind of oblivious to probably a few politics and things going on behind the scenes. I know Warwickshire hadn't had a great year that year, and we were close to being relegated. And I think that was probably part of the reasons why I was given a go and made my championship debut. Really, was to try and give me a taste of it potentially for the following year. But I actually look back on those times as quite fond memories. I know we got relegated, which was not ideal. But as a young guy coming into the team, I was just over the moon to be playing for Warwickshire. Representing Warwickshire, it was a dream come true. And kind of, as I touched on, the stuff that was going on behind the scenes and politics and things like that regarding management and players, and senior players, I was oblivious to, which, just that youthful exuberance. You come into the team and all you concentrate on is literally your cricket, and it's a great place to be. So, I look back on those memories as quite good, apart from us getting relegated, really. I made my debut. I was a part of the professional staff for the first time, and, being a local lad playing for Warwickshire, that was just my dream. So, I actually quite enjoyed those times.
Some great questions coming in on the live chat. Thank you for all that are sending questions in. It wouldn't be the same this without questions, would it? So, what's it called, Peter? Would you look forward to touring Pakistan, or do you think it would be too stressful to enjoy?
Oh, that is a good question. I know guys who have been to Pakistan recently with the PSL, and they said it was fantastic. It's a great place to play cricket, as India is. Really, the fans are so passionate about the game, and I think having had that gap of not playing there for so long, I think everyone's delighted to see cricket back in Pakistan. Whether England tour Pakistan soon enough for me to be a part of that team, I don't know. I'm sure a lot of hurdles and barriers need to be crossed and jumped over before probably teams tour there again. But it is certainly great to see, cricket played there again. They're such an important part of international cricket. They've got a great history behind them in terms of some great players, and they always produce great cricketers, don't they? So it's great to see cricket being played there. But time will tell as to whether we see, me in particular, or England tour there anytime soon.
And also internationally regarding Chris, another question that's come in is playing in New Zealand. A lot of the grounds also double as rugby grounds, like in Wellington and Auckland. Is that strange with the drop-in wickets, or do you never notice?
No, it is strange. It takes a bit of getting used to, especially when you haven't played in those venues before. Luckily now at the stage of my career, I've played there quite a lot. I've played at a lot of football grounds. In Australia, in New Zealand, and they do take a bit of getting used to. That is for sure. But they still tend to create a great atmosphere. I love playing cricket in New Zealand. It's one of the most beautiful countries. It's a great place to play cricket. It's a great place to just go, to be honest. Great people, great food, great drink. So it's one of the best tours. But those grounds do take a bit of getting used to, and they've got some of the most beautiful traditional cricket grounds as well, wherever you play.
Elizabeth, that's an interesting question. We've talked about batting and bowling. She says you took some fantastic catches in the World Cup in particular. Do you enjoy fielding?
I did in the World Cup because it was good for me for some reason. I think it wasn't actually a surprise in terms of something that I've really worked hard at, particularly in the white ball game, was trying to just have a role in the team, in the field. You come across some great fielders, don't you, in the ring, and we've got some great fielders like Owen Morgan and Jason Roy, and they dive around and do some great stops and take some good catches. But there was I was always finding myself on the boundary edge and just wanting to make sure that I was as good as I could be in those positions. So I found that was my role. As soon as I'd finished my spell, I'd be out on the boundary and just tried to be as good as I could be and practiced hard at my high catches, and thankfully that practice paid off. Took some really crucial catches during that World Cup, which was really pleasing when some hard work pays off.
Question from Brian Wild, Chris, the last one, I think. The last time I saw you at Edgbaston, you were practicing the knuckleball. Do you feel that you have mastered it, and how often do you use it?
Yeah, certainly haven't mastered it at all. It's a tricky delivery to bowl. I find that, I don't know if my hands aren't big enough, but it's quite hard to get your hands around the ball and still have control off your knuckles. So, something which I'm still trying to work on. I feel like I can bowl it, but I'm just not quite overly confident on executing where I want to put it all the time. So that's something which I'm still working on. And, that was probably, like you say, a year ago now. So that's something which I'm still trying to conquer, but hopefully it'll be there soon.
Chris, that's wonderful. The questions I think have all been asked. Apologies to any members if I've missed out your question. I've put one or two together if they were similar. So I hope you've all enjoyed it, and thank you all for joining us. It's been a wonderful hour. Thank you very much indeed, Chris.
No worries. Thanks for having me, Brian. Really enjoyed it. Hope everyone has as well.